not the underworld's shittiest Applebee's.
I'm gonna get y'all a great deal on this house.
Hit record. Oh, all right. I am here with Melissa LaMartina, and we're talking about For Sale by Exorcist. I just literally finished this movie an hour ago, and I was laughing my butt off through the whole movie, especially the third act, because that's where really things got really funny. And I gotta say, great job on this movie.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was so much fun to make, and it's like so gratifying to hear people say how much fun they're having with it.
So my first question is, where did the idea come from about this movie?
Chris wrote this movie in 2017, the first draft of it. We ended up paring down some stuff once we started going into production, once we got the green light. But it kind of came from a few different places. One was that when you see posters or billboards for real estate agents, it's never like, here are the houses I sell, or like, here's what I specialize in. It's always like them, a headshot, you know? So that's really fascinating to think about, like a person like putting themselves out there in that way, and like what kind of personality, is behind that headshot. So that was one aspect of it. Another was we went on our honeymoon in New Orleans 10 years ago. And down there, on all the for sale signs on houses, like you often see a little placard underneath that says haunted or not haunted, which kind of takes you down the path of what is the life of someone who might specialize in those haunted houses. So that's kind of a little bit of like the kernels that led to this story being developed.
That's quite interesting. And I also like the fact that it was done in a mockumentary style. That's what really got to me. Because I feel like you watch a lot of these haunted house movies, and nowadays they're doing the streaming thing where they're live streaming, like Deadstream, like that recently came out a couple of years ago. And but I like how this was done in like a comedic mockumentary type of way. Like, was that an idea that also like came about?
Yeah, so I think it just like lended itself it was lending itself to that mockumentary style for a couple of different reasons. One, it was just kind of fun to explore that, to really center this character and follow her around. What might those like house hunter shows look like if they were all about haunted houses, which was kind of an idea that like if we had made this ourselves, maybe it turned into a series, where you're following Susan selling these different houses. And then also the mockumentary style just allowed us kind of to get more bang for our buck, like framing the movie in this way means that you can use real locations, you can rely more on natural light. You don't have to go in and light all of these like 16 locations when all was said and done, like you're doing a narrative feature. So it allowed us to really be lean and make sure that everything on screen was really serving the story, putting the money into cast and locations and like immersing ourselves in this world.
That's awesome. And I gotta tell you, Emily Clausen definitely is the heart of the film. She's
Yes,
absolutely hysterical in this movie. Like
yes,
you don't see her even get scared like so much as one bit. Like she's ready to fight if need be.
yes.
And she just brings a spunky personality to the role, and that's what made it so funny and so enjoyable. What was it like working with her?
So she and I have known each other for a while now. So my background was really in theater before I started working on film, and she and I had worked together in some stage productions. And then Chris and I cast her in one of our previous projects, the Out There Halloween Mega Tape, which is the sequel to the WNUF Halloween special. So she plays this woman who's fallen in love with a ghost via a spirit board. So she's on my talk show. My character is a talk show host. And as we were starting to get more into For Sale by Exorcist and looking closer, like looking more and more like it was going to happen, um, both Chris and I were just like, this has to be Emily because she's not only a really great actor, but she's also just very charming, you know? And also, it doesn't hurt that like she already has a Southern accent. Yeah, like that's it was very helpful. But Susan carries the movie, you know, we're following her. There's hardly any span of time where she is not on screen. And so it's like critical that that character be someone who you immediately are rooting for. And Emily just knocked it out of the park. Like I can't imagine this movie with anybody else in that role, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The priest even cracks me up in this movie. Trying to be like the real. He thinks like I in some ways like she's a fake exorcist and he's the real one. So I like that little battle was between them. But the line that grabbed me the most was this guy's a priest and he just called himself a bitch on wheels. I literally almost fell out of my seat like hearing that, and I was like laughing so hard, like that just came out of nowhere. That was such great, and the actor who played him, had such great comedic timing and chemistry with Emily. What was it like working with him?
Yeah, he's great. So John's amazing. John is a horror host. So that's kind of how we know him. Dr. Sarcophagi. So we just like Chris knew him for a while, and as we were starting to cast the movie, we were just like his personality just felt so right for it, you know, just like he's just got this like great warmth to him, but also this kind of sly, fun, kind of sassiness that just like inserts so well into this movie just naturally. And he's a joy to watch. Like, I agree with you. He's so funny in it. Yeah.
And I like the fact that there is this metal band that comes out of nowhere in the film. And
Yes.
when I saw the little epilogue story, I literally lost it because I had just literally watched a few weeks ago for the very first time. I watched Lords of Chaos,
Oh,
the
yes.
Norwegian black metal band. I
Mhm.
finally watched it and said like, this is an insane movie, and that's who this band reminded me of. The band Lords of Chaos,
Yes,
that
yes.
Norwegian metal band. I thought like I would love to know how that was. That something like you and Chris were into, like the black metal stuff. Like, where did that come from?
It was just kind of like, you know, thinking about like how bands like that, like there's always kind of this suspicion that that they're like dabbling in the dark arts, you know? And so we were like, okay, well let's like lean into that a little bit and explore that with these characters. And our friend Mike, who plays the vocalist for that band, wrote that song that they use at the end of the movie. And he went down a whole path. It's really fascinating because he didn't just write a bunch of like gibberish. He's actually like singing lyrics backwards that are a ritual to raise up a demon. So he just took that ritual, reversed it all, and that's where all the lyrics come from. So he
Wow.
100% committed to like to that bit. And so it's just like such a fun moment. I think it's so unexpected, you know, in the climax of the movie to have these guys come out of nowhere, like you said.
Yeah, and so I always ask like indie filmmakers this because I always get different points of views and this stuff. But how long did shooting take, and did you face any like issues or challenges during the production of the film?
Yeah, sure. So, when Dredd tapped us for this, their production model was 15 days of production. So I decided I was going to do it in 12, which may sound crazy, but I wanted to make sure because of the level that we're working at that we had that sort of contingency, you know, so that if we had days where stuff went wrong or we lost a day for whatever reason, we weren't like blowing the whole budget of time and money. The hardest part really in pre-production was all these locations, you know, because it's a movie about a real estate agent, so we're not spending very much time in any one place throughout it. Finding the house that faces the cemetery was a huge challenge. I ended up flyering like 50 or 60 houses in like a 90-minute radius from where we live. So that was really tough. We finally found somebody who just like welcomed us into her home. She was just really wonderful. But that was probably the biggest challenge is getting all those locations for sure.
Oh wow, that's amazing. And 12 days,
Yeah.
you know what? I've heard worse. I've heard people like get films done in 7 days. So that's like
Yeah.
easy peasy.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I know. Yeah. It's luxurious.
So this movie's going to premiere at the Nevermore Film Festival this coming weekend, and then it's going to go to on demand on March 11th. And
Yeah, so we actually had our premiere at Nightmares Film Festival in Ohio back in October, where the film won Best Director as well, which was really cool. And so, yeah, Nevermore, I'm going to go down there on Friday. So they're screening it twice this weekend. And then, yeah, March 11th, it's out on VOD.
awesome. And what's next for you after this? Is there any new projects in the works that you can talk about?
Yeah, yeah. So, speaking of shooting movies in a really short period of time, we are in pre-production on a movie that we are going to be shooting in 4 days. So, we're shooting a feature in 4 days in April. Chris turns 40 in April, and so that's how he wants to celebrate. We're going to shoot from a Thursday to a Sunday, a full feature film called Spirit Tasting.
That's awesome. I definitely will have to see that when it's ready. Definitely.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then other than that, we have a surf rock band called Beach Creeper. It's a band all about monsters and cryptids. We have our full-length album out now that's on Spotify, or for people who collect vinyl, we also have it on vinyl.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
definitely need to recommend that to people who are around this area want to check that stuff out. 'Cause I know some people who would be into that for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks.
So everyone, check out For Sale by Exorcist, March 11th on demand. And if you are at the Nevermore Film Festival this weekend, go check it out then because you're going to see Melissa there. And thank you so much again for taking the time to talk about the movie.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you take care and you stay awesome.
Thanks so much. Nice meeting you.
Same here.
Bye.